Hey everyone, welcome to Everyday Fi, where we explore the lives of everyday people pursuing financial independence. I'm your host, Megan Combs, and I'm here to say that you do not need $1 million book deal or a famous blog to reach Fi early. By talking with real humans, I'll show you how to forge your own path to financial freedom the everyday way. Today is part 2 with Larry, and we start talking about the good stuff, like his daily routines, the importance of good sleep, and the positive impact of quitting alcohol 18 months ago. Larry also shares insights from his coaching practice, emphasizing the intersection of health, wealth, and happiness. We also discuss the challenges of imposter syndrome, the shift from people pleasing to genuinely helping others, and the importance of building personal standards rather than just setting goals. This episode is a super fantastic dive into reframing life's challenges and ever changing nature. Tune in after a word from some advertisers who I do not choose nor condone. So let's talk about Larry now and Larry in the next couple of
Yeah.
years. So, what does that look like? Like, say you could quit your job tomorrow. A, would you want to? And B, if you did, what would your days turn into right now?
Oh, yeah. And so as an avid Choosify listener, they have on Alan and Katie Donegan quite a bit, and they've done some really great work around some frameworks of how to think about, a day, a week, a month, a year in your life. And I've done a lot of this work. And as I'm coaching folks, like why I feel, in the coaching world, like everything else, imposter syndrome is real, right? Like it is real. And I find myself though, strangely enough, like with a lot less imposter syndrome in coaching than in most other things, because a lot of these things that I'm coaching, I've done the work. I really have. So I've laid out with my wife, like, what would a day in a week look like? And it really looks like spending an hour or so in the morning, like on my routine. And for me, that's like waking up in a quiet space, like thinking about the day a little bit. I'd like to say I'm getting into meditation. I'm trying. It's a work in progress, but a little bit of sort of like light meditation, just start the day, some intentions, into then a little bit exercise. And then I'm a morning person. So I like to do, if I can, a lot of my coaching work and the things that I really want to put my strongest effort towards first thing in the morning. So, a 9 to noon ish, little bit of work in some capacity. In this case, it would be on the coaching world. And then afternoon activity. So, like I mentioned, I'm in Colorado. So, whether that's getting on the river, climbing, mountain biking, hiking, skiing, whatever. So, you know, 2 to 3 hours of light work, 4 to 5 hours of good fun and activity, and then an early night to bed. There's a great book, if you haven't read it, called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. What I have found in the last 18 months is the most valuable thing in my life is good sleep. And one of the big sort of life changes as I've been on this FI journey and sort of this, I like to think about my FI journey as like the kind of confluence of health, wealth, and happiness. And in my coaching practice, that's sort of where we like play around, is in those three buckets. And sleep plays such an important role. And one of the things that I realized about 18 months ago that was killing my sleep, and I never, again, like 5 years ago, Larry would have said, "You are out of your mind," was alcohol. For anyone listening to this knows, like, I could party. I'm really good at partying and being the life of the party. And I was very good at that for many years. And through this exploration and work, I realized that alcohol was getting really in the way of me being my best self, in a large part through causing me to get really crappy sleep. And so I stopped drinking about 18 months ago and have never been happier, healthier. It's been an incredible journey there. So, it just goes to show, like, FI is so much more than just the numbers and the money in this FI journey. Like, one of the things I was spending was like looking at as we were like really laying out how to make financial independence before 50 for me. And like I said, I'm 42. I was looking at the numbers like, wow, we spend a lot of money on like booze at restaurants and just going out and all of that. And so coupled with the sleep, it was just a kind of a no-brainer to cut it out. And it was a great transition.
Yeah, for sure. I am not a huge drinker now myself. Like I'll do the special occasion, the weekend if we're going to go up to the cabin with my mom who loves wine type of thing, but we don't keep alcohol in the house. And it's not
Yep.
because we're like, we don't keep alcohol in the house. It's more just like, we just don't. We don't buy it.
Yeah.
We actually used to drink more. We would, when my husband and I weren't living together and we would see each other every weekend, we'd get either a bottle of wine or a 6-pack of like beer. And it was really nice, good beer. We were more about the taste of things, but of course, like alcohol would also inebriate you a little bit, but it's not, we weren't like
Yeah.
partying. But once we started living together, we realized we don't really need to do that. Like, and I don't know what it was, but as I got older, uh, the ability to metabolize alcohol just has like gone way down. like, I, so my mom, my husband, and I were at my mom's cabin like 2 weeks ago, and my mom is like one of our friends. Like, she's super chill, and we had one bottle. We went up Friday, and then we were there Saturday, and we left Sunday. So we had a bottle of wine for Friday night, and then a bottle of wine for Saturday night for the three of us. So that's, not a whole lot of alcohol between three people.
Yeah.
And they were fine. Like they barely felt it. Where I was like singing at the top of my lungs to like the Spotify playlist we were listening to. And just, they were like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "I'm great." I think I had like maybe 2 6-ounce glasses of wine and I was very good. So like my body's like, I don't need that much alcohol anymore for it to make any sort of difference.
Yeah. Megan, the lightweight.
Yeah, super lightweight. But yeah, you're right. My sleep was crap. Like I usually sleep
Yeah.
very well at the cabin if I'm not drinking. But then, like I had a really hard time falling asleep and then a really hard time waking up. And you are so lucky that you're a morning person. I wish I was a morning person. I am so not a morning person. I have tried, but I can't, I don't know. I just don't have that circadian rhythm in me. And so I don't want to cut out alcohol because for me, I like the taste of really good wine. And
Yeah.
so I want to keep that, but I don't do it for the like, let's party type of thing anymore. I just don't. So I am so with you on that one. Not to make, again, talk about myself here, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife still, she's just like you. She loves like a good glass of wine
Yeah.
or a good Prosecco, or she's a big Mezcal fan. But yeah, she'll go out and have one. And most things I do in my life, like I'm not really like a don't go all in type of person. So for me, I knew I was going to have to kind of be all in or all out. And again, like that's where this stuff is all so cool. Like I know me, I was able to make that choice. And again, like that was my choice. I was free to make that. And yeah, it's been a really great change.
Yeah, I had a few episodes ago, actually, when this comes out, several episodes ago, I talked about going off social media, which I know
Yeah.
is not quite the same thing, but I had to do all or nothing there because it sucks you in so easily that even seemingly innocuous social media apps like Pinterest, which I wouldn't even really call social media because it's not quite, you're not really interacting with people on there. You're kind of just looking at images and saving them, and it's like recipes and decor and all that stuff. But it had me buying stuff. It also had me feeling bad about my body because the people on there who are modeling the clothes or who are showing you the exercises are this big. I just showed my pinky if anybody can't see that, but they're very small. And so it just made me feel bad about myself. And I was like, I don't want to feel like this. And I know that this is not how most people look. Like, actually, I think a lot of the people were like AI generated, so they weren't even real. And so I was like, you know what? I just have to get off it completely, like you did with alcohol. I think I just had to do that. And I have never been happier. And I will say it has affected my wallet so like really great. Like I haven't bought anything this month at all. And I don't know what it was, but when you get on Pinterest, you're like, I want my house to look like that. So you go on Target and like buy a bunch of shit that you don't need.
Yeah.
And I don't do that because I like don't see that stuff. And so it's really nice. So I'm there with you for sure.
Yeah. And it goes back to we all have to really like know ourselves. Like that might be what it takes for you, and that this is what it took for me and for other people. Like again, my wife, like she can have 2 or 3 drinks in the course of a month, then like that's fine and that's perfect for her. Like you mentioned earlier, like kind of being a people pleaser, like all of this stuff has nothing to do with anybody else, right? Like it's all about us and what makes us feel good and kind of not what anyone else thinks. And knowing that about yourself and just being able to lean into that is so important. So
Yeah.
good for you.
Thanks. Larry, are you coaching me right now? What's going on?
I would
You're
love
like
one of these
leaning
days.
into
So
it.
yeah, one of these days I was actually kicking around the idea with Justin over at Fi Minded about doing an episode of like coaching someone on air, which I think would be super rad because there's a tremendous amount of value. This is another thing. 10 years ago, Larry would have just said, coaching? Are you kidding me? Like, you need that? Like, what are you can't do this yourself? I don't know. I would have had such a different mindset. I am such a proponent that a lot of these things, and I listen to, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 hours of fi-ish podcasts a week. So many of these topics that we're talking about on a regular basis are hard. They're really difficult, and they're really difficult to work on by ourselves. And having that partner that can help work you through, like when you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like there's no way out, is just so important. So
Yeah,
I'm a
absolutely.
firm believer.
It's so funny you're saying this because I have a good friend here in Durham, and I'm going to call her Jess because she wants to be anonymous. But we are going to be doing a live coaching session. I am not coaching her because I'm not a coach, but David Robinson, who came on in, I forget his episode, but I'll link it in the show notes. He is a coach as well, and he has coached a lot of people at Camp FIs. And so, and I know that my friend Jess is somebody who gets very overwhelmed with financial concepts. And I remember the first time we ever talked about it, and I was kind of explaining it to her. And I don't know if I just was like giving her too much information, but she started tearing up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's like, no, it's not you. It's just so much information that I feel so stupid and I can't understand any of this. And so David is one of those people who's got like a very calm demeanor. And I was like, he'll be perfect for you. So we're going to do a live coaching and it will come out before this episode. But I would love to, like, if somebody else wants to do a live coaching with you, maybe I would love it if you guys reached out and like we could set that up, Larry. If you're down with that, I'm like putting you on the spot a little bit here, but like if you're open to doing that to show like what the method looks like. And I think it could show the value of it too and maybe give people a little bit more because some people maybe can't imagine like what does coaching even mean, like what does that even look like. And I think showing people one coaching session might show them the value of it, even though coaching really should be several sessions. Like I think it could. So if you're down, we could make it happen.
Oh, you're speaking to my soul. I would love to. And I'm with you. The only social media that I am on for similar reasons as you is LinkedIn. And I don't use it a ton, but that is where you'd find me in my coaching practice as well. So I recently put on LinkedIn that I want to try to expose 1 million people who have never heard about FI to FI. And talk about big lofty goals, like my 25, 14,000 foot mountains in the grand scheme of things, to that seems absolutely negligible. But one of the things that I've observed is just kind of like you're saying, there's more information and content than you could ever need for the rest of eternity about once you get interested in FI. And I don't believe that's what is needed right now necessarily. Like there's a lot of great content being produced. I think that is covered. And as I think about what value I can bring to the community, I really believe it's bringing new people in. And just like you mentioned your friend, air quotes, Jess, it is horribly overwhelming. And we need more people to help bring the message and some of the core concepts in a digestible, not completely freak you out type of way. And that's what I'm trying to do as well. So I host a monthly, I call it Fi Curious event on LinkedIn, and we just kind of cover the basics. So if anyone's listening that has a friend or a family member, whoever that wants to join, you can find that on the LinkedIn page or my website at uncontrollable.me. But I just think that's so important. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Megan.
Yeah, one of the reasons I made this show is that, and I think I've said this before, that I think sometimes people who are new to FI just kind of brush it off because they're like, I couldn't do that. I don't have a book deal. I don't have a blog. I don't, and they find people like Mr. Money Mustache, and I hate to keep picking on him, but I really do pick on him because he was the first person who introduced me to the FI movement technically. Like, and he actually was what pushed me away for years until I found it again through Choose FI. And so and it wasn't that he did anything wrong, it's just that his message did not resonate with me whatsoever. And I think that there are so many limited voices that are way up here in the FI movement, like we hear from very few people, that the stories all sound very similar. And it seems like all these people have made all this money by being FI influencers, and that doesn't relate to the everyday person. And so I was like, I want to show the everyday story of how you can do this without having to write a book, without having to write a blog, without having to make a podcast, you know? And I will say, like, yeah, I have a podcast. I don't make money on this, like $100 a month, maybe on ads. Like, that's it. Like, I do not make any money on this. But I wanted to expose more stories that more people could relate to, so more people will come into the FI community. And I'm like the recruiter. Recruiting for our little cult. No, I'm just kidding. And so, yeah, I'm there with you. I think there are so many shows out there on how to do it, the mechanics of doing it, like the Roth ladders and everything that I mentioned earlier. That's not what this show is for. If you want something like that, there's a resource link on my website. You can go there, and there's like Choose FI is a great one. They have a ton of episodes on how to reach FI. The Mad Fientist, I think, also has a bunch, and Paula Pant also has like some Q&A episodes with her co-host Joe Salsihai. Like, they answer listener questions and things like that. So that's where I would find that information. But if you want to hear stories from people who have done this, who are everyday people, women who are night nurses and single and have kids who have done this, and people who found it when they were 22 and people who found it when they were 45 and they still did it, and like what all of those different stories look like, that's what this show's for. So, yes, I am so with you on that.
Yeah, and there's also this sort of stigma that FI looks one way, which is you salt away millions and millions and millions of dollars and then you're never have to work again. It looks so different for every single individual. And even if you don't get there, you're still so much better off for imploring this sort of lifestyle and these tactics than you ever would be. Like, let's say you have zero flexibility today and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and there is like, if one little thing were to go wrong, that's terrible, and it's going to completely put you in debt. Forget about like getting all the way to financial independence. If you could get to save 3 months of an emergency fund, and that's the best you can do right now, that is awesome. Like, great work. You should be stoked. And like, you have just purchased yourself peace of mind and flexibility and stability and just all of the good things. And that's what I think also gets lost when we sit here and talk about the 4% rule and all these things. And like, those things are all great, and a lot of folks can get there, but there are a lot of folks that can't. And like you just mentioned, given circumstances and young kids and single, whatever it might be, like, just gaining stability and comfort and peace of mind can be so important. And then that manifests in all the other parts of your life. So yeah, I'm such a proponent. I appreciate everything you're doing, Megan, and how we can continue to get the message out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm so happy that you found coaching and that you were drawn to it. And I'm curious, like, why you were drawn to it. What do you think kind of pulled you into wanting to coach people in the FI movement?
So interesting. We've mentioned a couple times now the notion of being the people pleaser. And through some serious sort of reflection and just being very aware about different experiences that I've had. I thought I was a people pleaser for a long time. And I thought that made me very happy. And what I came to realize was it wasn't a people pleaser. I got a tremendous amount of joy and energy in helping people. And that's different. It may seem nuanced, but like people pleasing, you can give someone what they want and it may not help them at all. It actually may hurt them.
Yeah.
And and I think a part of it was just through my kind of like a leadership journey in my corporate career and really seeing like the impact that I can have on people. And that didn't always mean that what they needed to hear was the thing that they wanted to hear. And I had some great leaders that kind of worked with me on situations like that. So that's really what got me to investigate the coaching career. Is like, okay, coming out of my corporate career and into this new kind of post-FI life, what do I want to be doing? Well, I want to really like help people. And how could I help people? How could I do that with a real low barrier of entry where I could still travel and do all of these things? And coaching sort of came up there for me. And I think though that difference between people pleasing and helping people was really the key that unlocked my path to coaching.
Yeah, I think with people pleasing, and I'm just going to speak from my own perspective here. No, I'm not
Yeah.
speaking from anybody else, but I think people pleasing is inherently self-centered, selfish. Like the whole reason you're people pleasing is so that people like you, and so that you don't have to deal with any conflict. And so it's about your comfort. It's not really about the other person. Whereas helping somebody is about the other person. Yes, of course, you probably get pleasure in helping the other person, but still, you're helping the other person. Like that's the number one reason that you're doing it. So I think it might be nuanced, but I think it really is completely different. So I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a great book. I think, honestly, the first 30 pages are the best part of it. Then it gets a little slow, for my opinion, but called Super Communicators. I don't know if you read it, but there's a concept in there that there are three types of conversations: one in which we want to be helped, one in which we want to be heard, and one in which we want to be hugged. And it's really interesting. And the research suggests that like a lot of us, whenever someone comes to us with something, our immediate reaction is we assume in that conversation they want to be helped. In most cases, we don't. We just want to be heard. And coaching provides an incredible opportunity for people to engage in that type of a conversation. And the style of coaching that I practice, it comes from the roots of positive psychology, where we assume that like you have almost all of the answers. So you're not going to come to me as a coach asking me for advice. That would be a mentor. It's actually very different. And that's something, if we were to do an episode, I could talk a little bit more about the differences between a coach and a mentor. But I'm really there to ask questions and allow you to do a lot of kind of inner work and exploration to find the answers that are already within you. Because again, a lot of the conversations, it's interesting if you go on your life for the next couple of weeks and think about this. When you approach someone with a problem or something, watch, like their immediate response is, let me give you advice. And like most of the time, you're like, I don't want your advice. I just want to tell you about my crappy day, or like, whatever it is, just listen.
Oh, yes, because it is so hard as a product manager not to want to solve somebody's problem. Like, I have the solution for you. And they're like, you know what? I don't want solutions. I just want your ears. And I'm like, but we can solve this right now. So I find it very
Yep.
difficult. And I have to watch myself because that's my like go-to. That's my default, is to try and solve the problem. I do that a lot with my husband. I have asked him, I was like, can you please tell me when I'm doing that and you don't want me to do it? Like, just tell me, because I am trying to recognize it, but because it's so ingrained in me, I'm going to make mistakes and go there, especially if I'm just like not really thinking about it and being just especially coming off a day where all I'm doing is solving problems and that's just where my brain is. Like it's hard to shut that off when that's what you do all day for work. So, but he doesn't seem to mind. Like he likes that I do that. There's one instance that's interesting. So this is going to give people a heart attack. So he just sold his house today. Actually, he just texted me and said that the money just came into our account. So
Hey.
woohoo. Yeah. And the house, we were renting it out, and we had the people who were renting it move out while we were listing it. So the house was empty. And there were about 2 weeks where we were both traveling. So both of us were traveling together. And then he went to Philadelphia the next week. And so nobody went to the house for 2 weeks. And then he got a water bill that was like $150, which is very high. And he was like, wow, why is it so high? Nobody's in the house. We went there. The toilet was like the little thing that basically flushes it was broken off into the toilet tank. And it was just flushing, 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 flushing. And so we have no idea how long that was happening. But just today, he got another bill over $3,000. I
Oh
know.
no.
And he was like, "Oh my God, look at this." And of course I go right into problem solving mode. And I was like, "Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this." But I'm sure he probably just needed me to be like, "Oh my God, that bill is horrible. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do?" Like that's probably what he wanted me to do, but I went right into
Yeah.
like, "Do this, do this, do this, do this." Cuz like $3,000 is a lot for a water bill. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, oops. I did do that
Well,
today.
but it brings up an interesting point, and this is talked about a little bit in the book too. You mentioned there, asking in this context, like your husband to, hey, like let me know kind of what you want out of this conversation. It's actually okay for us, like the person who is on the other side of the conversation, to actually prompt it. And so to put that back on you and say, how would you like me to handle this? Like, is this a conversation where you want to be helped, heard, or hugged? And as opposed to asking them, because a lot of times too, like I don't know, they'll be a little maybe nervous or for whatever reason not wanting to hear that right out of the gate. So like us taking the ownership and doing that up front is good too. But it's a really interesting framework, and you'll be surprised at how often you'll see or hear that people just want to be heard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably like 90% of the time, I would think. That statistic, I just pulled that right out of my butt. So stuff. I did not pull that from anywhere. But yeah, I mean, you're right, because if you're wanting to make the change, you have to take the responsibility of making the change and not put that responsibility on somebody else to make sure you're making the change, right? Like that was not very eloquently said, but it's you're putting the onus on your loved one when you're the one who needs to do the thing. And yeah, so and you're right. Like maybe he wouldn't necessarily want to come to me and ask me for help right away because maybe he thinks like, oh, she might be busy at work or doesn't have time to do this. And I think asking for help is actually challenging for some people. So I love that, like you said, you ask, do you need to be heard, hugged, or helped? Helped, hugged, heard, whatever order that's in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Great. So we are coming towards the end of our time. And so before you leave, though, I want to get from you if you have any current struggles or current wins that you are dealing with or experiencing right now that you could share with us.
Sure. I think the current struggle is the boring middle standpoint right now. So, like I mentioned, I'm 42. My kind of FI timeline right now has me just before 50 being able to not have to work my corporate career anymore. So, for my Coles folks listening, stuck with me for a minute or two longer. But I find myself sort of like second guessing things and questioning things like, oh, should I change around these investments? Like, no, Larry, just leave it alone. It's all fine and stop looking at it. But what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm proud of myself for this, is instead of succumbing to those tendencies, I'm really challenging myself on like, how can I make my current life and the time between now and March of 2032 the absolute best it can be. So I'm trying to redirect that energy and that kind of mental bandwidth into being able to look back 7 years from now and be like, wow, that was an epic ride for the last bunch of years, and not get stuck in that like waiting game of like, I'm waiting until I'm using air quotes again here, fi, to be able to like do all this cool stuff, because there's plenty of really cool stuff for free or low cost that I can do today. So I'd say that's one of the challenges and kind of one of the ways that I'm working through it. I think in terms of wins, I mentioned earlier, the alcohol free piece for me has been just incredible. So I'm gonna kind of frame this up in terms of like health, wealth, and happiness. So the alcohol free piece has been great. I feel great. From a wealth standpoint, I'm encouraged and excited about the coaching practice, and that's off to a really great start. And it's certainly, as you can probably tell in my voice, like it lights me up. It gets me really excited. I'm in like flow state when I'm in those coaching sessions, and I absolutely love it. And then from a happiness standpoint, just working towards that goal of those 25, 14,000 foot mountains. So I think kind of having these like really good, tangible things to try to achieve and maintain in those three buckets has been a really good kind of operating model for me personally.
I also think what's cool is that your happiness bucket also is kind of your health bucket because you have to be healthy to
Yeah,
be able to climb the 14ers. So that's
certainly.
very cool that you can like cross them. You can cross those streams, y'all. You can put them in different buckets. Yeah, I think I might look at that.
It's almost hard to not cross them, which is super interesting, right? And so, yeah, like it's a cool kind of framework to try to operate in.
Yeah, for sure. Because like health definitely leads into happiness. Health also leads into wealth, but wealth can also lead you to be healthier because if you have more money, you might be able to hire that personal trainer or be able to get the better quality produce, whatever. And then being healthier and wealthier makes you happier. So it's just, yeah, they're like kind of all linked, which is very interesting. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure of which one you want to designate to what you're doing. So I love that. But I'm definitely going to look at that for my own life and see. I definitely have the health thing. I have some goals. I just got a DEXA scan like a week ago. If anybody knows what that is, it's basically one way you use it is for bone density. That's what insurance covers. And then insurance doesn't cover the body composition DEXA scan, which I got the other day. I am going to get another one because I'm very curious if this was even accurate because it was like I went to this, weird 70s looking office building and the guy had just like a DEXA scanner in like a little office and that was it. And I was like, okay, this feels
Yep.
not very official. So I don't know if this was accurate. But it basically told me I was 41% fat. And I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. That's not good. That is not good. And one of the reasons why I'm suspect that it's accurate is because I was just looking like there's a Netflix documentary about The Biggest Loser and I was watching it and somebody mentioned they were 50% fat and they were much larger than me, like double my weight, right? And so I was like, okay, so maybe this isn't accurate, but still I was like the thing that went through my brain is this cannot be my reality. That no, we need to make a change. And I'm one of those people, and I know this is like champagne problems, but I never had to worry about that. I've always been effortlessly slim my whole life until, as people know who listen to the show, I went through these fertility challenges because of going through menopause early. And so when you hit menopause early or menopause at all, you just pack on the pounds, like your metabolism just completely changes and all of that. And so that happened to me. And I was like, there needs to be a change. And so I have a plan, and it's not a very hard plan. Like I'm eating all the same foods, just a little bit less of them, and sticking my unhealthy foods into like a single day of the week rather than every single day of the week. And then just upped my exercise like one day a week I'm doing more exercise. And so it's not like a huge change, but whenever you do changes like that, you don't want to like go from 0 to 60. And so
Yeah.
I have that one. But it's the other two that I'm like, I need to search and see what those might be in my life. So I'm really glad that you brought them up.
Yeah. The other, so for yourself, and if you haven't read it, and for the listeners, Outlive by Dr. Peter Tia. So there's a lot of incredible, fairly recent research on, it's less about being like, quote, what we think about like overweight being a problem. It's actually being under muscled. And there's that book has some really interesting research and tactics in how strength training and actually zone 2 cardio are so critical to our success, especially as we get older and building that. Because right with that body composition, I use DexaFit as a company, so they've got a great app, and I think a great company, and have a long way to go. But that body composition, that lean muscle mass, is something I'm tracking too, and just trying to keep up, because the one of the kind of premises in Outlive is you need to be in the top, I think, 2% of the decade beyond you in order to maintain like real health into your 90s or 100. So that book, incredible read. It's long, it's deep, there's a lot of science in there, so it's a good one for an audiobook as well, but a great resource. And yeah, I'd love to chat more after this, Megan, with you too. It's a
Yeah.
really great topic.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, it's something that it just like came out of nowhere, basically. It's a little shocking. It's been kind of rough on my mental health too, because like
Yeah.
I look at myself in pictures and I just don't see me. I'm like, who is this person? And the funny thing is like my actual BMI, which I know BMI is like not really what you should measure it by, but my BMI is technically still healthy. And the DEXA scan, he did say like you are carrying the weight in a healthy way. Like none of it is the visceral fat. The visceral fat's like the really scary stuff that's on your organs. I have like
Yep.
half a pound of that, and that's it. And then the rest is
Yeah,
all
that's
the,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And the rest is all the like, what is it, the adipose or whatever. So, and apparently that's also the easier one to lose. So that's nice to know. But I find it interesting, my reaction. Like we said,
It's not the events that shape our lives, but our beliefs about them.
yes. And so my belief, like I could have gone with the, oh, I'm still a healthy weight. I'm carrying the fat healthily. Like I'm not in any danger. And maybe I just need to up my strength training a little bit because I think my muscle mass was just a smidge lower than it should have been. But really, all the numbers except for the fat percentage were good. And that's where I could have gone with it. But my belief is that 41% fat is not healthy. I don't care how I'm carrying it. Like, I do not think that's healthy. And so that's why I'm going that direction rather than the like, oh, I'm validated that I am healthy and I have nothing to worry about. So I just think that's so, again, we like came back around to that concept and how that really is so interesting how people can react differently to information that way. But anyway,
Yeah, well, and congrats to you for taking action, right? Like it's so easy getting that type of feedback and just shaking it off or shutting it down or just avoiding it. So, it takes a lot of oomph to take action on something like that. So, well
thank
done.
you. I hope the motivation
Yeah.
sticks because I usually have issues with motivation. But like I said, I think this is a lot of people with health stuff, with like weight loss and stuff. They're motivated by health scares, and to me, this is close enough. So I'll take the win.
Yeah, I'll give you just another kind of interesting, maybe like framework or perspective on that. And I wish I could remember where I heard this. It was on some health podcast somewhere. But the podcast host was talking about making these types of shifts and reframing it in your mind, not to be so much about having a health goal, but setting a new personal standard on how you live your life. And like for me, that really resonated and clicked because like goals are things that sort of you get to and you stop and they fade. But if you set like I don't smoke cigarettes, that's just a standard that I set for myself. I could smoke cigarettes if I wanted to, sure, but I don't. Some of these things, like these changes, in order to persist, like make them persist and be maintained, like that notion and mindset change of a personal standard and how that's going to be a new standard for you is just, I think, a different way to think about that in perpetuity.
Yeah, it reminds me of James Clear and how he says like become the person who does X instead of saying like, I'm going to run a marathon. And he's like, become the person who enjoys running every day. Because you will eventually
Right.
run a marathon if you are that person, right? Like it's
Exactly.
just going to be part of who you are. And he's like, because if you make it part of who you are, your identity, it'll be a lot easier to do it rather than getting to a goal and then what, and then you have to up the goal and up the goal and up the goal, like, and it also shows you like, is this the kind of person I want to be? Like if you just say I want to run a marathon and you hate running, why would you run a marathon then? It's better to think of yourself as like, who do I want to be? And if you're like, I want to be somebody who's healthy, then it's like, okay, what kind of person is a healthy person? Is a healthy person the kind of person who sits on the couch 5 hours a day binge watching Netflix? No, that's a problem that I have. Is a healthy person the kind of person who has a king size bar of chocolate after dinner every single day? Again, me. I have done that, been doing it. No, they're not. And so, and it's not that a healthy person never does those things. It's that they don't do
Right.
them for the majority, right? What majority of time are they spending doing what? Like, what are they doing as a healthy person? And I just think that's such an easier framework to adopt for me personally. I hate goals, honestly. When they make me do SMART
Yeah.
goals at work, I'm like, why? So, yeah, you would hate managing me. No, I'm just kidding.
No way. No way. But
Yeah.
as we've put this whole conversation full circle, the going back to the why, right? And really being aware of like, so in your goal, you said you're 41%. I want to get down. Maybe that number for you is 35%, whatever that number is, right? But like, it's not even about the number, just like we talk about in FI. It's about like, how does being at that new number make you feel, right? How do you feel? What does that allow you to do? What's that going to allow you to do in the future? And like making these things about so much bigger than the little tangible number, but about the bigger why is just, I think, such a advantage of being part of this community in the way that a lot of us think about our whole lives.
Yeah, and it makes you approach it differently because if my goal was 35% fat, I could reach that goal by, trigger warning guys, starving myself, becoming anorexic,
Right.
being bulimic. I could do it, right? But like, that's not who I want to be. That's not going to inform the why, which is to be healthier, to live longer, to be able to see my kids and grandkids grow older and be able to experience what the world is going to change into. I think about sometimes like when I was born in 1987 and like the equivalent person who was born in 1887 and how long they lived and how interesting it's going to be to live that long and maybe even longer and what the world's going to look like. Like those are the why, and becoming bulimic or anorexic to get to 35% body fat is not going to get me there. Right. And that's kind of coming from that like Biggest Loser show. Like their whole goal was just to lose the most weight, right? The biggest amount of weight.
Right.
And they did it so badly because like all they did was exercise 6 to 8 hours a day and they only ate like 1,200 calories. It was terrible. And I was like, you can't do that and live your normal life. Like you're going to die actually probably faster if you live that way. Sure, you'll lose a shit ton of weight, but it's like you're not going to be healthy. So yeah, I'm totally with you. And we totally went off the rails on that. I'm sorry, like we're
Yeah.
diving way into health, but thank you for being willing to talk to me about that. Yeah. Before we go, I'd love to know if you
Yeah.
have any life hacks, recommendations, or learnings for the community, and then we can get your contact information, and I'll link that in the show notes too.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the interesting ones to share is a framework. As you can tell, I love frameworks. And as you could probably also tell, I'm clinically ADHD and I'm a little bit scattered. So frameworks really help me sort of interpret the world and operate within the world. So I use them a lot. And one of the things that I've experienced, and we've touched on this today in the FI community, is this notion of do everything yourself instead of just do it yourself. A beautiful characteristic of a lot of us in this community is like we're self-starters, we're go-getters, we figure stuff out, we get things done. But like that often comes at a cost of taking on too much and trying to do everything ourselves. So as I've observed that through just conversations with folks like yourself, Megan, or in my coaching practice, I put together just a little bit of a framework. The acronym is HELP, of like, how do you know when to ask for help? And that might be reaching out to like a fee-only financial advisor or a coach like myself or a therapist or whatever, depending, just depends on what you need. But the acronym HELP, stands for just holding too much, right? You're carrying more than you can manage. You're mentally, emotionally, logistically drained. E is just your energy is drained. So your inner battery's running low. The usual ways of recharging just are not cutting it anymore. L is for losing clarity. And this is where a coach like me comes in. Like you just feel stuck, right? You don't know where to go. You don't know what's next. And then P is patterns keep repeating. So despite, your efforts, the same challenges keep resurfacing. And maybe it's time for just a new perspective or a different point of view. So I think it's a good reminder that sure, in a lot of cases we could figure it all out ourselves, but we don't have to. In a lot of cases, trying to do so actually slows us down and doesn't help us get to our journey faster.
I love that. DEY versus DIY. I love that. It's so cool. Great. Larry, thank you so much for being on here. How can people reach you if they'd like to learn more about you, if they'd like to hire you as a coach? Okay.
Yeah, so I got a couple things going on that I would love to share. So you can reach me. It's just Larry at uncontrollable.me. So my coaching practice is Uncontrollable Me. The website is just uncontrollable.me. Try to keep it pretty easy. A couple of free things that I offer that I'm super psyched about is the Fi Curious workshop. So you can find that on the events page at our website, uncontrollable.me, as well as I do a monthly podcast club. So I love talking about this stuff, as you can tell. This has been a great conversation. I super appreciate you having me. One of the things, though, I was having a hard time finding people to talk to about it, candidly. And I just wanted to kind of nerd down on this stuff and get more people talking about it. So I host a monthly podcast club. You can find them. They're about 3 months out on the website. So random group of people, we meet for an hour and discuss a podcast. It's always in either the health, wealth, or happiness space. And they're great conversations. We get people of all ages, just a really eclectic group typically. So would love to get more people to join and just continue to develop those meaningful conversations.
Yeah. So it's like a book club, but for a podcast episode, right? Is that what
Nailed it? Because as I mentioned earlier, I don't have the attention span for a book club. So book clubs didn't really work for me. And I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. So I was going to give this one a try.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you linked so many different books because I am so bad at reading nonfiction books. Like I get very I don't think I have ADHD. I don't know. I've never been diagnosed, but I have a hard time getting into them. Like I feel like they repeat themselves so much that I'm like, you had this already. So I get frustrated very easily, and I also find them very dry sometimes. So yeah, I really love podcasts though because it's nice bite size. It's two people talking. It's more story oriented because people, when you end up talking to each other, stories come out, right? We're telling stories, we're telling anecdotes. And that to me is way more interesting than somebody just like, here's a framework. See, I'm not the framework person. So like, I'm like, sure, framework, whatever. I'm going to vibes. Like that's my framework, vibe. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
found for me that I'll find a topic I'm interested in or hear about a book, someone will recommend it. And I'll actually, similar to you, I'll go to a podcast that author was on first. And if I really like it, then I go the book route. And I'm a big fan. I get hack. Like I use the Libby app and I get all my books for free on the Libby app and read it on the Kindle. So, I don't spend a ton of money on books, which is great, but that's my sort of like vetting process. Cause I'm with you. Like if I'm not hooked in the first like 10 pages of a book, oh, I really struggle to go any further.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Larry. This was so much fun. And yeah, thanks. We've almost recorded for almost 2 hours. That's how it works on this show. Like, I just love hearing from
Yeah.
people, and I love having these conversations. And it's almost like nobody else is listening except everybody's listening. So yeah, I really loved this. And yeah, I am really looking forward to checking out your website and hope other people do too.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan. This has been great.
Yeah.
Appreciate everything you do.
Thanks for listening to the Everyday 5 podcast. If you're loving this show, here are some things you can do. Number 1, subscribe in your favorite podcast player and share the show with your friends and family. You can also find us on YouTube now. Some of the videos actually have our faces. Number 2, please leave a review. I am always looking for ways to improve the show. Number 3, check out my website, everyday-fi.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and leave comments for myself and the guest. Number 4, if you're interested in sharing your own financial independence story and connecting with other community members, you can find a submission form at everyday-fi.com/podcast. And lastly, number 5, join my Patreon membership for only $5 a month at patreon.com/everyday5podcast. This is a one-woman show, so every little bit of support really helps. See you next time as we continue to go down the path to financial freedom.